There are few places where you can walk miles and miles along the Atlantic Ocean without seeing hotels, condos, or even another person. This is the beauty of Cumberland Island. Like brush strokes on an artist's canvas, more than 17 miles of undisturbed beach outline the eastern edge of Cumberland. Magnificent seashore that stretches as far as your eyes can see may well be the island's most defining feature. Patterns in the sand shift with the wind. The sky is unmarked by tall buildings or metal towers. It opens to a palette that is mixed with every color the heavens have to offer. Perched along the dunes, there are weathered trees, at once beautiful and haunting. Limbs reaching desperately for the ocean, like gnarled fingers frozen in a silent plea. Waves roll in as they have for centuries, yet alone at the edge, you feel as if you're the first person to witness this soothing ebb and flow. It hasn't always been this way. The hypnotic water belies a remarkable history of human occupation. Cumberland Island has been host to Indians, soldiers, slaves, and millionaires. But that's a story for later in the show. Today, the National Park Service protects the island and its heritage. Cumberland Island National Seashore encompasses more than 36,000 acres of land, making it one of the largest undeveloped islands on the eastern seaboard. To appreciate the solitude you find here, consider this island is bigger than Manhattan, yet park visitation is limited to only 300 people a day. The only way to get here is by boat. You catch a ferry in the small town of St. Mary's, Georgia. People come ready to explore for a day, or some opt to spend more time at the developed or backcountry campgrounds. You can get lost here, with a large wilderness area and 50 miles of hiking trails that weave through maritime forests and salt marshes, wetlands and beach dunes. If you do choose to wander, you are rewarded with unforgettable Cumberland moments. Each sunrise brings a new experience. Where else would you see wild turkeys strolling through the dunes? Horses come to the beach to take a nap, then saunter off into the maritime forests. Sometimes on a walk, an unsuspecting bobcat sees you, freezes, and then cautiously slips away. Park Service biologist Doug Hoffman spends weeks on the island. He knows most of the 500 plant species, the many birds, and the diverse ecosystems. But he is passionate about Cumberland because of what is not here.
When you come from other areas that are developed, like the Atlanta area or other places where you get so used to hearing traffic every day or seeing gas stations and people and cars, and you get here and all of a sudden you realize, I haven't heard a car or seen a car, in weeks. And it's kind of interesting once you realize that you have not heard the typical sounds you hear in urban and suburban areas.
He knows the island so well, Doug makes us a promise. When the sun goes down, loggerhead turtles will be on this beach. And so it is that on a cloudy night, under a full moon, we see a loggerhead come up to lay her eggs. No noise, just the ocean, the wind, and an occasional grunt from the hard-working female. About the time one crawls back to the sea, we follow the flipper marks of another and catch her covering up those precious eggs. This long, empty beach plays a critical role in maintaining the status of these ancient, majestic creatures of the sea that are often confused by the lights of development. The next morning, we go back with Doug as he covers the turtle nest with mesh. How many of these do you do?
We typically have anywhere from 300 to over 500 nests per year. Typically, we'll account for 25 to 30% of the state's nest in total.
This protects the nest from predators like feral hogs. A single hog could wipe out those eggs in a matter of hours.
The issue with hogs and raccoons is they learn what nests are. So if they ever learn what a nest is, the screen may still reduce the level of predation, but it may not prevent it.
Doug puts out bait for the hogs and checks his traps each morning. He doesn't mess around. trapped hogs are shot, and he often hunts them at night.
A lot of people would think, oh, it's so mean. You get those hogs trapped and then you shoot them and the poor little pigs.
Well, little pigs grow into big pigs. You know, that's the way I look at it, whether they're 5 pounds or 500 pounds, you know, they're pigs. So there's really no way to deal with them other than removing them.
They not only eat turtle eggs, wild pigs use their snouts to root up native plants and destroy precious habitat. The damage they leave behind is easy to spot. Wild horses are another difficult issue for the Park Service because most people love them and expect to see them on Cumberland. But biologists view them as nothing more than a feral animal that damages marsh grasses, eats sea oats, and steps on nesting shorebird eggs. Spanish missionaries may have introduced some of the horses, but over the decades, landowners brought various breeds of horses to the island. At last count, there were just over 100 horses on Cumberland. They roam all over the island. The Park Service does not feed or manage them. Indeed, one of the most controversial issues on the island may well be these horses. Not all of Cumberland belongs to the Park Service. There are a handful of private landowners who live here. After the Civil War, well-to-do Northerners purchased land to avoid the winter cold. One of the largest property owners was the widow of Pittsburgh steel baron Thomas Carnegie. He died in 1886, and Lucy Coleman Carnegie was left with 9 children and a lot of money. Cumberland became her permanent home, and Dungeness, now in ruins, her palace. It was party central for family and friends. She also built homes for many of her children, and all lived a lavish lifestyle. Carnegie descendant Janet Ferguson, better known as Go-Go, missed out on the Gilded era, but inherited a great love of the island from her grandmother, Lucy Ferguson.
You know, and it was like being with Peter Pan here growing up. She taught us, she'd take us out at night and we'd call the alligators. We were watching loggerhead sea turtles come in to lay their eggs.
She called the alligators?
Yep, and I'm not gonna do it, but it's a great guttural call, and we go out at night in our pajamas and, well, I'll try it. It's like, and all of a sudden the gators would rise on up and these green eyes would start coming towards you, and she had such a rapport with animals and her surroundings. I sent an email.
Go-Go's house is like a museum of bones and artifacts from the wild.
And this just,
isn't that hysterical?
Beautiful. I don't know how you did that, but
Dave did that. It's a horse pelvis, or a couple of horse pelvises. It's our version of a chandelier.
Her friends include the rich and famous. This is the one place they can leave celebrity behind. She started a successful jewelry line based on things she picks up along the beach or in the forest. An alligator toe earring or a necklace of armadillo scales.
It's this section right here.
This.
Yep.
So each one of these translates in.
Yep.
Everything in her life seems at once hectic, but laid back, and always connected to the island, which is how I found myself digging for clams at low tide.
yeah,
Here they are.
here's a good one.
Yeah, they're everywhere here.
This is Go-Go in her element, collecting oysters and clams for a dinner party, much as she did for her grandmother's guests many years ago. A couple of wild horses stroll by as if we are part of the landscape and this is the most ordinary thing in the world. Digging up clams is a bit like a treasure hunt. Once you get the hang of it, you just don't want to stop.
And then if we see a big hole, we can stop. Oh, like this one.
Oh, that is a good one.
We keep trying to leave, but
Oh, hold on.
Oh, wait, look.
Oh my gosh.
Mother load.
See, the problem is you can't stop.
I know.
So we just have to eat every one of them.
it's hard to tell how long we were on that beach, but the sense of timelessness is what hits you after just a few days on Cumberland. Finally, Go-Go's husband, Dave, reins us in.
I got it. If I need to stop, I will.
I had it last time. It's like Cindy. Didn't y'all have a...
Later, at dinner, friends and family stop by, and you catch a glimpse of what life was like growing up on a private island.
Wait a minute. I got one for you here, Go.
That sounds too good.
Well, they don't know how to do it.
De facto.
That's how I get the Grayfield oyster rolls.
All right, I need my glasses.
But the Carnegie heirs were left with property that's expensive to maintain without the big money to support it. That brings us to the remarkable story of how Cumberland became part of the National Park System. We begin on a boat with Go-Go's brother Oliver, better known as Mitty. Why is an heir to the Carnegie fortune a boat driver for passengers and goods? When Lucy Carnegie's last child died, the island was split among 14 heirs. Mitty and Go-Go's grandmother inherited Grayfield, which he and his wife, Mary, now operate as an inn, the only commercial lodging on the island.
In our case, it was generational. You know, when a certain generation, the way the trust was set up, the last daughter of Lucy Carnegie's died, and the trust ended. They divided the island up, and everybody scrambled to either sell their land, in some cases, and my grandmother scrambled to start the inn and try to preserve what she had, and she did, you know, a pretty good job of it.
Grayfield Inn became the golden goose that allowed this faction of the Carnegie family to hold out. Others sold their land. Attorney Thornton Morris says some property went to a developer who would have changed this place forever.
Approximately 200 yards north of here were planned condominiums. So that tells you how close it was. They were already planned.
And then there would have been a bridge?
There would have been a bridge, very definitely.
Thornton drafted the legislation that designates Cumberland as a national seashore.
This was probably the last of the real wild islands that could be taken for a national park. Physically, it's undeveloped. For me, spiritually and emotionally, it's a rejuvenation place. It's a transformational place, a place where people can come with one way of thinking and they may leave with another.
As if on cue, thunder crashes and the skies open. A storm over the marsh. Like so many things on Cumberland, it slows you down. There's nothing to do but sit and watch. After a while here, you begin to see things you might ordinarily miss. Like this. In our 9-to-5 state of mind, it's easy to walk by water, think, oh, how pretty, and keep going, without noticing this guy. He definitely sees you. The many bodies of water scattered across the island are filled with life. Since there are only a handful of vehicles on the island, you have to walk or ride a bike. Closer to the ground, it's easier to explore. Even a bug can be mesmerizing. This little ball is pushed across the sand by a dung beetle, an insect worshipped by ancient Egyptians. He rolls up pieces of manure, gets his treasure between the back legs, then thrusts forward with his front. He will pull it into the sand where the nutrients provide food, water, and a nursery for developing eggs. On any given day or night, he can bury 250 times his weight in dung. This could be one of the most unique properties owned by the National Park Service. Cumberland has seen a lot. It was home to the Tumaquin Indians and Spanish missionaries. Over the decades, ships from various countries floated in the waters around Cumberland, looking to exploit her resources or claim the island as their own. There were plantations with hundreds of slaves. The chimneys from some of their cabins still stand on private land. On a ride with Park Superintendent Fred Boyles, there are stories for every stop. At the Tabby House, built by Revolutionary War hero Nathaniel Greene, you learn this man spent his own fortune to feed his troops.
In today's military, can you imagine a general spending all of his personal funds to make sure his soldiers could get food to eat? But that's what Nathaniel Greene did. By the time the revolution's over, he's not wealthy at all. In fact, he's downright poor. And so in gratitude, the U.S. government gives him the one thing that they have, land.
There is so much to see here, so much history to absorb, that the Park Service offers tours for those with limited time. Almost everyone wants to stop here at Settlement, where African Americans built a small community after the emancipation, with a tiny church that drew national attention.
In 1996, John Kennedy Jr. Was married here, and an amazing story that he would come to such a remote place, to such a small building for this wedding, which had often been rumored to be some big New York City event, ended up being here on the remotest part of Cumberland Island.
There is an ethereal feeling on this island that's hard to describe. Maybe it's because of all the people who lived and died here. Perhaps it's the knowledge that all of this simplicity could have been lost. Or it could be the eerie quiet that leaves you alone in your thoughts.
It's a very spiritual, even after the many years that I've lived here, just walking down that beach road and coming over, you know, that beach, that expansive beach with no one, maybe some horses, is extremely spiritual. Or the light shafts in the afternoon, just looking at the Spanish moss, it is incredibly spiritual to me.
I think, too, living amongst nature so closely, and you see life, birth, death, probably a little bit more closely than some people do if you're in a city. And I think that it just kind of, you know, it gives you a sense of, you know, I mean, you do feel close to some kind of God, you know, some kind of spirit.
Close to 40% of the U.S. population lives along a shoreline, and those coastal communities are growing fast, bringing more cars, construction, and congestion. But not here. This will always be an escape, and it belongs to all of us. I'm Sharon Collins. We'll see you next time.